Okay, so on today's Los Blancos podcast, we are going to be discussing the Sevilla result. It was a 1-1 draw in the Ramon Sanchez Pizjuan, and it was a mixed game. I think at the end of the game, Tony Cruz put on his story. It's better to not lose than if we're not going to win, then it's better to not lose. And I think that's what I would say. It was definitely a difficult game because I think we should have won it. It should not have been a game where we should have struggled, but we did struggle, and in the end, Sevilla went 1-0 up. So it felt like we did, gain a point in this game. So what would you say is the outcome of this game? Do you reckon it's 2 points dropped or a point gained?
I would say as it's still early in the season and difficult stadium is like 2 points. It's 1 point gain because of course it's still early in the season. We're still figuring a lot of things out. Of course Sevilla away is always a difficult opponent. Last year we won despite the many injuries, but we all know that sometimes when we go there things are always tough. We sometimes lose, sometimes we draw, sometimes we win, but we don't win by much, even if we win. So I would say this is a point earned. Despite everything that went on, I believe that this is a point earned.
Yeah, and I think there was plenty to talk about in this game. So let's get started. I mean, with the starting lineup, I don't think I can have too many complaints with the starting lineup. I don't think there's too much to talk about in that. I mean, I'm not sure if Rudiger picked up a yellow card, but I don't think he did.
I don't think he did, but I can let me just confirm that for you. But if he did, it would have been a bigger talking point. So I don't think he did.
Yeah, I think that would have been definitely cropped up in my feed, in my Twitter feed, on my Instagram. I think I would have found out that Rudiger's can be missing for El Clasico, but I don't think he did pick up a yellow card.
It's only Carlo Ancelotti, Vinicius, and Camavinga got cards.
Okay. So that's good to hear. He is going to be available for next week in El Clasico. Apart from that, I don't think there's too much to talk about. I mean, Rodrigo played instead of Joselu. I think there's more talking point about the subs. So, did you find anything interesting about the lineup in this game?
Well, of course, Carlo Ancelotti will always go on Rodrigo over Joselu in these type of matches. Despite the fact that Joselu has more goals, I believe that Rodrigo's success at Madrid and what he does maybe off the ball in transition, or maybe what he does in terms of link-up play, despite the fact that he isn't scoring, would always be useful for Ancelotti and in games where maybe you need your players to drop deep, or maybe go wide to start counter-attacks. So I wasn't shocked by it. Of course, we know Ancelotti prefers Mendy at left back, despite the fact that he isn't doing well this season in terms of his attack and output. Even in the preseason, he hasn't been doing well. Defensively, he is okay. For most of the game, but of course, I'm not shocked by Mendy starting because it's a difficult away game, and of course, maybe Ancelotti didn't want to take any chances. I think, of course, maybe I assume that Valverde played a lot of minutes for his national team. Maybe I thought that he would have maybe came on as a substitute. Other than that, we all know that Vinicius and Rodrigo will be one of the only attackers in the team. So they, of course, will have to start a lot of games. Maybe Brahim Diaz should have been given an opportunity, but of course he might get that chance during the UCL match during the week, because of course Vinicius and Rodrigo is of course the go-to attackers, and exactly so because of course what they have done in the past 2 seasons.
Yeah, let's start with Sevilla's goal. I think that's the most appropriate place to start with. I can confirm now. I think for me, there's been a problem that's consistently arrived this season, and I think I can confirm it now with this goal. It's our defending of crosses into the box. Now, I think previously this was not too much of an issue. We had no issues with this. There was not really much notability about it because of the fact that we had Thibaut Courtois and, you know, having a 6'7" giant in the box who's so dominant with everything that comes within 6 yards of him. You know, that's obviously a huge help because he doesn't really spill too much. You know, he doesn't punch like Kepa does. He obviously catches everything, and, you know, he claims everything in his box, and he's quite authoritative when it comes to that. When you know, obviously you dropped a couple of you drop your height to get what you get with Kepa, and, you know, you drop your punching tendency, all of that stuff where Kepa doesn't really catch the ball. He always punches it, or he palms it away. You've obviously got that type of goalkeeper who's maybe not as dominant inside of his box, and therefore the defender's, you know, ability to deal with those is now emphasized. Whereas previously we didn't have to see too much of Rudiger and and Alaba defending in those 6 yard areas. Now you obviously see that happening more, and you see us getting exposed. You saw us getting exposed against Alvaro Morata, where, you know, he was just making movements inside the box, and went against Alaba, who's 5'11". Now, you know, previously that wasn't an issue. Now it is, and I think this could be a huge issue going forward in the season when we have to play Haaland, because, or if even if we don't have to play Haaland, even if we have to just play Harry Kane, if we have to play, you know, other guys like this, you know, even Gabi Jesus is a really physical striker. You have to play these physical strikers a lot nowadays. It's going to be a huge problem because they're gonna put the balls into the 6 yard box, and, you know, the fact is that Rudiger's a good header of the ball, but if it makes it past Rudiger and you're facing Alaba with those balls, then you've got a big issue. You know, we're going to be playing Braga in midweek, and I don't think Braga have a physical striker like that. I might be wrong, but, you know, obviously they've got. I don't think they lost Vitinha in the summer, so they don't really have too many physical strikers. So I don't think that's too something we have to worry about too much. But this is now going to be a huge problem. We saw it with En-Nesyri. Now he's a really good header of the ball. But it's a huge problem now that we can see cropping up consistently into our goals, into the opposition's goals. Is the fact that we can't defend crosses into the box. What are your thoughts on that situation?
Yeah, I saw a stat this morning that showed that 8 out of 10 of the goals we conceded this season were from crosses into the box. Well, from the wing, and of course, you know, like you said, you know, of course, Courtois, he would clear most of the crosses, because of his height, and because when you're tall, it's easier to be confident in claiming those high balls, you know, because you know that you're going to get it, and the opponents would know it as well. So sometimes they wouldn't even challenge for the ball as much as they would. And Kepa, of course, I think we know that may be one of his weaknesses, as we seen when the last chance that Sergio Ramos had, when he could have scored at the ending, when Kepa came out, and he wasn't nowhere near it, but of course it didn't look too promising, in my opinion, that Sergio Ramos was able to win a header that not too close from the goal line. You know, I think at Chelsea we saw that as well, and I think it's a bit disappointing, but I think that we knew what we were getting. You know, of course, that's why maybe a lot of fans were saying Bono was the option, the best choice, because he is dominant in the air as well. However, I believe that the option to get Kepa for a cheap cost without thinking that maybe we need to sacrifice a lot of money for one season was maybe the option that the board was thinking a lot. I like Kepa a lot. I know his weaknesses. I know that he isn't the best goalkeeper in the world, but he's certainly a good shot stopper. You know, has good reflexes. You know, there's a good side and there's a bad side to it. I think it's something we knew at the start of the season, so it's not something that I'm going to complain too much about, you know, because it's something that every player has their weaknesses. That just happens to be his own, and we have to be thankful that we have Rudiger defending high balls into the box, you know, and of course Militao would have been useful, but he is injured, you know, so it does put a lot of pressure, or additional pressure on the defense, and of course maybe that's another reason why Mendy is starting over Garcia as well.
Yeah, I think this is a huge problem. I don't know necessarily how to fix it. And I don't think this is something. I think we took Courtois. A lot of us we took Courtois for granted because we don't realize the full extent. We obviously saw the shot stopping, but the full extent of his brilliance in terms of his goalkeeping, I don't think we understood it. Now, after all this, Kepa, I would say criticism, there was a brilliant save he made at the end, near the end, and it was a fantastic save off of a shot, and it was going right in the top corner, top left corner, and he made a brilliant save, and that's another positive of Kepa. He can make those saves. He's quite agile in that way, and I think that's fair enough. You obviously get the negatives with Kepa, but you're obviously going to get those positives, and with that save, he obviously saved us. He won us a point in the end. It seems like. So there are obviously positives and negatives to having Kepa. I think he displayed the positive there. So what are your thoughts on Kepa's performance as a whole?
Yeah, like I said, he's a good shot stopper. He can make good saves. He's getting better each year, I would say, as being a good shot stopper. But of course, that's something we knew. He's a talented goalkeeper with good reflexes. I think he'd be an excellent goalkeeper. For example, if you're playing seven-a-side football in those smaller posts. If you're playing five-a-side like football, I think he'd be one of the best goalkeepers there. If I'm being honest, because his hands is so quick. But of course, when it's a big goal to defend, it would be a bit more difficult for him. But of course, I have to say, we have to give him his congratulations for making these saves. He's not going to save everything, because of course he isn't like top 3 in the world, but he's definitely top 10 in terms of shot stopping. One of the best in my opinion. And of course, when he does well, we have to make sure that we congratulate him to keep his confidence up, because we have to remember he's going to be our starting goalkeeper in these big matches, in the Clasico and the big Champions League nights. He's going to be the starting goalkeeper. It's not something he has experienced much in the past, because he lost his starting spot to Mendy, who was a big starter for a while for Chelsea. And for Spain, he isn't the starter. So for now, for the first time in a lot of seasons, I think ever since his first season at Chelsea, he is going to be the number 1 goalkeeper.
Yeah.
And of course, even in the big games when he played in the Champions League nights, he was dropped for some of them. So I don't think he has some big nights he's played so far. So hopefully that these games and these performances can build his confidence leading up to those nights.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we got Braga in midweek. That's going to be a huge game. See if we can seal our Champions League qualification midweek. Ultimately, I don't think it's actually mathematically complete, but it would be definitely a big step towards it. So Kepa's going to have to come up big once again in that game. And then you're talking about next week in the Clasico. That's it's teed up excellently for Barcelona. Barcelona are delighted with this draw, because ultimately it gives them a chance next week to pull themselves back into, I think it would be top spot. Although Girona do have a chance to, I think they might have a better goal difference than us. Girona have a chance to go top spot today with a win. I mean, going into next El Clasico next week, Barcelona are obviously missing a lot of players. I'm not sure about Robert Lewandowski's health for that next week. I think he did pick up a little injury a couple of weeks ago, and I think that could be a little concern for Barcelona. But if he does play, is that quite concerning for us, considering Barcelona do like to spam crosses. When things aren't going their way, they like to just chuck a bunch of crosses into the box, and it tends to go quite well for them. Do you think that is a slight concern to have, these crossing concerns for us, and then you're going to have, one of the best strikers, obviously not on the greatest of form, but is it a slight concern to have Robert Lewandowski on the receiving end of those, maybe 10, 12 crosses a game? Is it a concern for next week?
It is. I would have to admit it is, but I think Lewandowski in some of the games against Madrid was a bit invisible, and hopefully if we had Rudiger playing well against him, maybe man marking him, maybe playing the same way he did against Haaland. I don't think he'll be an issue because Militao locked him down a few times. I don't think he's always amazing when he plays Madrid. I think it's more sometimes we get outplayed sometimes when we play Barcelona, and then of course he'll end up scoring a goal if they have a lot of chances. So normally when we play against Barcelona, he isn't that effective because our defenders do a good job on him. So I'm not saying I'm particularly concerned about it, but what I'm saying is that I believe that once we maybe try to take control of the game, we can maybe keep him quiet.
Yeah, that is obviously going to be a huge problem for Barcelona, whether he's fit or not. And then obviously as well as other players being injured as well. Pedri's injured. De Jong may come back in time. Koundé is injured as well. So they've got a really big injury list for them to deal with. I think Rafinha's injured as well. So they've got a huge injury list. I think it's inexcusable if we don't win next week. But we'll talk more about Clasico in a bit. Have you got something to say?
Yeah, we also have an entire injury list. Let's not forget.
Yeah, but I think those are more. We knew about those coming into the season.
Yeah, for sure. It's of course recommended that we should have addressed the positions, which we did in terms of the Kepa situation. But do you think seeing Tchouaméni play the centre back would maybe calm you down a bit in relation to the centre back position? Because of course it's a 4-0 win. Of course it was an easy game against Osasuna. But seeing him at least play there, would you at least think that, okay, we have an option to play centre back at least in terms of emergencies?
Yeah, in terms of emergency, which, that Osasuna game was an emergency, I think Tchouaméni at centre back's fine. What I don't want to see is Tchouaméni playing there long term. I don't want to see Carlo just push him back into centre back because he plays well. I think he's fine. I just want to see 7 out of 10s from him, and then let Rudiger do all the impressive work. But yeah, I'm happy with Tchouaméni playing there as an emergency centre back, especially because of his height and stuff like that, which is good for a centre back. It's a difficult role to play centre back. It's a difficult position considering you are the last line of defence, and then there's the goalkeeper obviously. So you getting that positional stuff right. Playing there is quite difficult, and I think Tchouaméni did really nicely there. So yeah, I'm comfortable with having Tchouaméni there, but I don't want to see it permanently. I don't want to see him having a stretch of games playing at centre back. That's not what I want to see. The odd game is fine, but a stretch of games or a big game against Manchester City, no thank you.
Yeah, definitely. But of course, at least we at least have the option of him there. And he played there for one game in case of an emergency. Sometimes as the season gets longer, you never know exactly what you're going to need. Sometimes you never know. Maybe Nacho can be in bad form, and Alaba could be injured, or Rudiger could be injured, and we will have no choice but to play him there. But hopefully we don't have to. But for now, at least we have an emergency option. And I would be the first to say I'd prefer him there over any of the Castilla centre backs, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I don't think the Castilla centre backs right now are incredibly remarkable. Obviously, Rafa Marin's out on loan. When he comes back, he'll be quite nice. But yeah, I'm happy with Tchouaméni at centre back. Let's talk about something else, because I think it's quite appropriate to talk about the lack of it just keeps cropping up, the lack of finishing in the squad. Obviously, we've got Jude scoring so many goals, but apart from that, Rodrigo missed a couple chances again today. It's getting a bit excessive. You can see the Madrid fans are starting to get frustrated with him. It's getting more longer and longer the time he's going on this goal drought for. Hopefully he can score soon. But same thing with Vinny. Vinny wasn't doing exactly great either. Obviously, I don't want to talk about the referee too much, but how can you not give that as a penalty when Jesus Navas just pushes him onto the foot? It's a clear shove, light as day. You can see the intent within his eyes to just push Vinny down to the floor. It's quite obvious in my opinion, and not even giving a VAR check, not even just giving that dignity, just seeing if there's any chance of that happening. I just think it's quite stupid from the referee to do that. And then the rest of the decisions, constantly just waving away everything that even if it was a 50-50 for Real Madrid, he would just wave it away no matter what. And it was just like every single time there was a decision to make, it would go in Sevilla's favour. Now, I don't think most of the time, I think when Real Madrid when we complain as fans, I think it is in the heat of the moment, and I do think that referees generally do favour the bigger teams. But in this game, I think it was definitely it was so often. It happened every single time, and it's the same referee every year. It's the same goddamn referee every single year. Ricardo de Burgos Bengochea, he just makes these decisions every single year. He costs us points every single year. Every single game he referees that is a Real Madrid game, he will cost us points. I think he was the referee in the Valencia game last year. And then if you remember a couple of years ago, I think this is the most notable one I think he's had against us, is that Supercopa game where if you remember, Suarez had a penalty where he just he dived and Navas, from Navas apparently he clipped him, which he didn't. And then obviously the Ronaldo red card, which was the most stupid decision I've seen in my life. The way he was given a red card for diving, and then obviously the shove gave him an extra 5-game ban. So that was one of the most annoying things I've ever seen from a referee, and it's this same referee every year. And it just happens every single time that we drop points. Now obviously it's our fault for allowing the referee to be put in that position where he gets to make those decisions that cost us the game. But it's just those penalties they should be, they're so obvious in my opinion, and not even giving a VAR check it's stupid in my opinion. So what are your thoughts on the attack, the chance creation, and obviously the referee?
Yeah, definitely. It's a bit disappointing if we have the technology there to be used and it's still not being utilized efficiently. It's a bit concerning, especially for clear penalties, for clear fouls, for clear incidents that could lead to cards. Of course, it seems like the decision to stop the Bellingham goal was a bit confusing, because I didn't think he stopped it for a foul or anything like that. Because it was a bit chaotic even before the ball went in. That's a bit confusing. That isn't really seen anyway in the law book, in my opinion. Why the play was stopped. If he didn't call for the foul, why did he stop the play? VAR didn't intervene. So I'm a bit confused. It's a confusing performance in what he did. It's a bit shocking to see how his performance went. As the main official, he should have things under control. He definitely lost control of the game. So in my opinion, I hope that he doesn't do some of our games. That's all I have to say, because it's a bit disappointing. When we maybe deserve more out of a game, and the main talking point is the match official. So hopefully in the coming games of the season, it doesn't have to be like that.
Yeah, I think the most important thing is just don't make yourself the headline story, and he every single time he makes it himself. And it's not just our games. You can look at the Barcelona games. The referees often make themselves the main headline of the story, and it's just annoying, because you look in some of the other leagues, Premier League, the referees make themselves the headlines of the story. But in the leagues where the officials are better, you don't hear anything about Serie A officials being horrible. You don't hear too much on the Bundesliga officials being horrible. And I think that's just what you want to see. You just don't want to see the officials being the main story after a game, especially a game which is so big in Spain. Real Madrid versus Sevilla is a huge game. The talking points after the game should not be the referee. So there was one. This obviously, I'm gonna say this is the last thing I'm gonna say about the referee. There was one where there was a foul in our defensive third, and the referee waved it off. He was saying, there's no foul for Sevilla. The player dived to play on, and then as soon as he saw that Real Madrid was starting a transition attack, he went on and gave the foul back to Sevilla. And it's just like, it seems kind of counterintuitive. It just seems like, how have you done that? You've just waved it off and then you're going to go give it straight away. It just seems a bit stupid. If it goes on to be a goal, then you can let VAR deal with that. But it seems so. I've got no words for it. I've seriously got no words for it. But yeah, have you got anything else to say on the referee before we move on?
Yeah, of course, that was, of course, the biggest one. I would understand if you maybe, even though the Vinicius one was a penalty for me, I would understand that, but of course it's a bit concerning in relation to the goal which Bellingham scored. I don't think he even blew the whistle to stop the play. I think he just called it back for a foul. For injury, I believe, which isn't a head injury. It's so concerning and it's so upsetting, that's why I'm saying it's a point, because of everything that happened. It was a tough game, and the decision making of the match official made it even more disappointing, to be honest. So even when the incident with Ramos and Rudiger, it wasn't like any incident, I believe, where a card should have been given, but of course his back is turned towards the original confrontation, and he's so close to it. And how could he not hear players maybe interacting with each other, not aggressively, but at least as an official, he should be looking at what's happening. His back is turned to the situation, walking away from the situation. So if, let's say, a fight had broken out, of course there is a technology now to get back at it. But he should definitely be there, to control the situation. So he lost control of the game, and of course it's not much you can say there, because it's a bit disappointing, as we all know.
Yeah, let's talk about the chance creation then, because we created a lot of chances in this game. We should have put them away. There's no excuse for it. We should have put them away. Valverde created a lot of chances, an excellent performance. I don't think he should have subbed Valverde off. And then Modric came on. He created a couple of chances, but there wasn't really anything remarkable. At that point, it just seemed a bit. It felt like it just wasn't coming. The chances weren't coming post the Modric sub. I think. No, that's not got anything to do with Modric. Let me reaffirm that. That's not anything to do with Modric. I'm just saying that was probably a point in the match where it just seemed like things had dried up a little bit. And then, fair play to Sevilla. I think they played us really well in this game. I think they, when we made that Modric substitute and we had Modric and Kroos on the game, they then tried to make chaotic for us, and I think they completely sped up the tempo of the match, made it so that every time the ball was in our defensive third, we just lumped it up instead of playing it out from the back. They made it so that it was chaotic when Modric and Kroos were on the pitch, and then they made it so that it was calmer and slower pace when we had our younger players on the pitch. I think they played that really, really nicely. They did really well in that regard. But in terms of for us, I think we didn't play to our strengths either. We didn't do all of this. Now it's obviously annoying when Rodrigo can't finish his chances, Vinny can't create those chances as often as he should, Bellingham can't get in those attacking positions. It just seems like everything didn't go our way in this game, and I just felt like, when that Carvajal goal went in, felt like it felt like what we deserved. We deserved that goal, but it just seems like it felt like everything that we tried to do, it would not go in. The ball would not go in, and I just hope that we can stop those chances from happening. And I think one last thing on that is Joselu, I think, should have come on way earlier. I think when it seemed like it was going to be another one of those games for Rodrigo, you sub him off, you give Joselu the chance. I think Joselu should have started from the beginning, especially with his track record against tougher, taller defenders. You've obviously got Ramos on the other side. You've got to play Joselu from the start, in my opinion, from this match. But you didn't, and therefore you gave them the advantage by playing Rodrigo, by playing Vinicius, by playing these guys who are slightly less weaker and not as physically strong. You give Sevilla the upper hand in that side. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I believe that, however, Rodrigo wasn't poor. He wasn't amazing at the same time. I think, of course, it's a bit of a disappointing situation in terms of why he isn't scoring. Of course, maybe we all assume that he would at least have at least 3 goals by now at this stage of the season. Because I think Vinicius has three as well. I think he has 3 or 2. I'm not too sure how much Vinicius has, but
I
he's
think
been
it's
injured.
true.
3, and well, Bellingham also has 10. Hoslu has 5. So the main goal scorers are Hoslu and Bellingham. I think what Ancelotti is always thinking is that maybe Rodrigo offers more off the ball, and in those difficult away games where we won't have the ball much, I think maybe he's going to Rodrigo, and in games where we have plenty chances with the ball, Hoslu will get the opportunity because we will have more of the ball, and he can maybe take advantage of some of those crosses when we're in advanced positions. For me, it can go either way. I would like to see maybe more of Hoslu until maybe his form drops off, in my opinion, because if Rodrigo isn't scoring and you're playing that diamond formation and you have Valverde in the team, Valverde is pushing up as well a lot, and he's in attacking positions, supporting Vinicius, Rodrigo, Bellingham as well. If you have Fran Garcia instead of Mendy, you have another attacking outlet, on the left side, So I think it's a lot of technicalities that's going into it. If you believe that you're going to start Hoslu and Rodrigo isn't, and Rodrigo, maybe you like what he does off the ball. There's so many players who can do a lot off the ball, due to their movement, like Valverde and Garcia, who can be on both widths. Carvajal has played a lot of energy this season as well. So there's so much that's happening that can benefit us, and I think we have to look at it from a holistic point of view as well. When you look at the lineup, I would prefer Rodrigo starts if Mendy is there, because Mendy isn't going to do much on that side of things. Vinicius has to pull wide, and Rodrigo has to do a bit more movement. So it's a bit more complicated than we all think. However, I do believe that maybe Hoslu is in form. He should definitely be there to score the goals.
Yeah, I thought that. I think the substitutes were made at the wrong time. I think Brahim Diaz should have come on earlier. I think Joselu should have come on earlier, and I think Fran Garcia, 87th minute is just ridiculous. You need a goal, and he should have come on, especially after the first goal. There is no way Fran Garcia should have been held back for that long, and it just seems like it was just Fran Garcia could have changed that game. I think the right winger was not coming back to track back, whether it was Suso or Lamela. They were not coming back to track back, and then you would have been able to double up on Jesus Navas, which would have been absolutely great. Jesus Navas was struggling to contain Vinicius on his own, let alone with Fran Garcia. It was obvious. It was just there to just take advantage of, and it just didn't happen in the end of the day. So I felt like that was an obvious point where we could have taken advantage, but we did not, and I think we messed up there. What are your thoughts on the substitutes that Carlo Ancelotti made?
Well, yeah, I think he's waiting too long to have Diaz come into the game, in my opinion. I think Diaz showed in all of the minutes that he's played that he's definitely capable of impacting the game. He should be ahead of Modric. Coming on, when you're chasing a game, he should be ahead of a midfielder like Camavinga, who, don't get me wrong, changed a lot of matches for us in the past, but when you need like an attacking spark a bit more creativity, then you have Diaz come on. If you're lacking control in midfield and you need another body in midfield to take control of the game to win tackles, then it's Camavinga. But if you're lacking something in attack, that bit of enthusiasm and incisiveness, then you need Diaz on the pitch. I think he's just swapping midfielders, maybe just a swapping midfielders' sake for the energy, I believe. But however, you have to analyze the situation and know what you want in the team. I think Diaz is an important player for us. Maybe under another manager, he would have a bigger impact. So it's a bit disappointing that maybe Carlo Ancelotti isn't seeing what a lot of us are seeing in Diaz, and I'm sure he knows that he's doing well. And maybe it's always when the schedule gets busier, he's going to play more. But why can't he get minutes now when it's clear that we need someone like him to have an impact on these games? He played well against Napoli in the Champions League last year as a starter, so are you telling me that he can't impact the game against Sevilla? That a team that isn't as good as Napoli was last season? I'm sure that he can have an impact on those games. Why are we waiting so long for us to get him on the pitch to impact these games. 10 minutes isn't enough sometimes. It's enough to maybe show that he deserves 15. Then when he gets 15, he shows that he deserves 20. And then when he gets 20, he shows that he can start matches. And when he starts, he scored. The only game he started, then he scored. So I think, I don't know, it's not clear exactly what Ancelotti wants him to do to get him at least 30 minutes on the pitch. That's all we're asking for. We're not asking him to start over Rodrigo yet. I believe we're just asking him to give Diaz at least 30 minutes. Let Fran Garcia get the opportunity, because at this point, we are conceding from crosses with or without Fran Garcia. Mendy isn't giving us anything in attack, so maybe at least we might concede one more if Garcia starts over Mendy. Maybe not, but at least we're going to get chances to score like he did against Sociedad, I believe, and he assisted too. So it's a bit concerning for me that Mendy is still a starter for Madrid. I don't care what anyone says, that he was our starting left back when we won the double a couple of seasons ago. Yes, he can still be a good squad player, but of course, a lot of players, Jesus Vallejo came on against Manchester City. That doesn't mean I want him as a starter for the club. There's so many players who did good things for us in the past, but that doesn't mean that they should still be starting for us, now. So it's even those simple situations, you're going to look at, and Ancelotti is looking at that maybe the Mendy situation, maybe just Mendy's defensive output more. But of course, Madrid should be playing more attacking football with more interchanges on the width, more movements in the attack. And that's why we need those young guys like Garcia over Mendy, in my opinion, who cannot contribute in attack. And that's my main point in all of this. We have the players on the bench and the tools on the bench to switch up these games. We need to use them.
Yeah. Midweek we have Braga coming up. I think we should be able to win that match. Although Braga, again, like Union Berlin, they sit back. It's going to be a tough game in terms of that. We're going to have to try and break them down. We can't afford to be prophetic in front of goal. We need to just score those goals when the chances come. And then next week, El Clasico. How important is that Clasico? I mean, it's just, we've got to win that. This teed up nicely. We're now 3 points ahead of Barcelona. So, Barcelona win that. They're back on level points with us. It's tough. It's going to be tough next week. Barcelona, like I said before, they're going to miss a lot of players. They're missing a lot of players. I think it's absolutely pivotal we win. I think it is in Barcelona. I think it is in Montjuic next week. So that's going to be a huge game. We've got to win it. We have to win it, and like every El Clasico, but these are the games that can define our season. It's gonna be an early kickoff, so the second game of the day, whatever time that is for you. What are your thoughts on that El Clasico next week? How do you think that should go? How do you think you want it to go? How do you think we should play it out?
Yeah, of course we would hope for a win in El Clasico. Of course. We will have to maybe use Bellingham maybe closer to the left with Vinicius to maximize his output, because we know if we play him in the same position, most likely Xavi might use Romeo to maybe mark him and foul him and get him out of the game. I think Ancelotti have to be a bit more unique with the starting lineup, not the starting lineup, but the way he positions his players. As we've seen in the past, when we are playing a certain way, and we just switch it up, and we don't make any changes. It's easy for teams to scout us, but when we make those simple adjustments, like having Bellingham assisting Vinicius out wide, it's definitely helping us out a bit, in my opinion. I think it's better that way instead of maybe sticking to one play. So hopefully, Ancelotti can be a bit unique, and hopefully that we can get the win. I'm looking forward to seeing that game, because of course we're going to enter that game, I think, over Barcelona in the table, because it's 4 points. We are ahead of them by just 4 points. They play today, so if they win, it's going to be 1 point. So it's nicely set up. And I would hope that we don't at least don't lose. I would accept a draw at the Camp Nou, but if we win, it's going to be much better. So to win those games, you have to do something unique, in my opinion. So hopefully, Ancelotti does that.
Yeah. One thing I will say is that because Jules Koundé is missing, I don't think Araujo will play at right back. I may be wrong. They might deploy a younger centre back alongside Christensen, but I do believe that Araujo will play centre back, and then they'll play Cancelo at right back, which is a huge difference. Vinny against Cancelo is a huge difference from Vinny against Araujo. So, because of the lack of availability, but obviously there's one big difference from the 4-0 that we beat them in a couple months ago. There's no Karim Benzema anymore, and it's now Joselu. So let's see what happens in El Clasico. Have you got anything else to add on the Sevilla game? Maybe Braga or Barcelona next week?
For me, I would definitely love to see Diaz start in midweek. I would love to see Fran Garcia start in midweek. Maybe Nacho should get a game out at right back. Because I'm not too sure. Yeah, he's back for the Clasico. Yes, he's back.
Yeah,
he's not going to start, of course. But I would like to see Carvajal rested so we can see the best of Carvajal against Barcelona. We had nightmares last year with his performances. I don't want to see that again. So hopefully, we are wise in what we are doing. I would love to see these players get an opportunity to shine, in my opinion, though who isn't playing as much. So maybe Camavinga should return to the starting 11 because he didn't start over the weekend. Let Tchouaméni get a bit of a rest, because he's been playing a lot of games. Modric might start. I would love to see players get the opportunity to start because it's a Champions League game, and we all know in these Champions League group stages that Madrid are always likely to go through. It's not like we are taking the game easily, but of course we are giving others the opportunity to show what they can do, in my opinion. So I would love to see guys like Diaz and Garcia get the opportunity with Tchouaméni and Carvajal getting rested as well. So let's see how that goes. And hopefully the team produces a good performance over the week first. I would like to see us perform first before I start thinking about it Clasico.
Yeah, obviously Real Madrid usually drop points in at least one Champions League game, whether it's Leipzig or Sheriff Tiraspol, whatever. They normally do mess up at least once. But what I do want to see next week is do not play Luka Modric and Toni Kroos together. I do not want to see that next week. This has to be the start of the new team going forward. So I don't care if one of them play, but you can't play both. There is no way you can play both, especially after that derby loss. You cannot look at that and say Luka Modric, Toni Kroos together. Let's run it back. Tchouaméni are on the bench. I do not want to see that next week. Tchouaméni starts, Camavinga starts, Valverde starts, Jude starts, and you probably do start Toni Kroos, and you probably put Camavinga at left back. So
yeah, I think he's going to have Camavinga play at left back for that game. I think that's what he's going to do because of what Camavinga offers in 1v1 situations and what he would allow Vinicius to do on the wings. So I definitely believe that maybe Camavinga should have the opportunity to start that game, which allows Toni Kroos to start as well. So that's another reason for Camavinga playing at left back, because it allows Toni to start, which gives us control. Because we all know what Toni can do. I don't think Luka's going to start. I think we have all accepted the idea that Toni is a starter. I think Toni Kroos will always be a starter in this season for Ancelotti. But unfortunately, I don't think that Modric is a starter, because I think we have Bellingham now, so that's making it a bit difficult for him.
Yeah, I don't think Luka can expect to get the minutes either, those type of minutes anymore either. So yeah, that is it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys later. Bye bye.